That's true. If the zoning allows it.
Want to promote in agriculture.
How close is he?
He's not coming.
You're not gonna be here?
He'll be online.
Okay.
We good? We good, John? We're online? Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our general city council meeting this evening. Appreciate everybody being here that are present. We are going to get started with a Pledge of Allegiance that tonight will be led by Chris Martinson.
All right, let's join in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. We will move on to item 4.2, City Council comments and recognitions.
Mayor, I just would like to recognize Marion Millett, who just passed away this last week. He was actually a longtime resident of our city. He was on the first city council. He actually was really instrumental in getting Harriman to be a city anyway. He went out and got the signatures that were necessary for Harriman to become a city, and he's done so many great things. I loved riding on the wagon with him. When he had the team here, he took us around on the wagon through the parade or through the rodeo with his leather gloves with the fringe on them with the beads. And anyway, he's a great man, and we're really grateful for him and the influence he had on this community. And we just wanted to recognize just the contribution he made to this city.
I would echo that. Thank you, Sherry. Anything else from the council?
Just one comment. We are well served by our representation in this community in the state legislature. We have some of our representatives have been sponsoring some key actions and key bills, advocating for our residents, for some of the needs we have down here, for some of the transportation and infrastructure issues that are going on. And I just want to call them out and thank them for the good work that they're doing and encourage them to keep doing it.
Thank you.
Also on that note, the legislature session is in session currently, so if you guys have time or you have bills that you are looking at, make sure you contact your representatives and stay in contact with them, because they are very influential, and all the gratitude and help they can get, they would love. So,
Thank you. I failed to mention Councilman Henderson is with us online, correct? Is he online? Jared, do you have anything, any comments at this point?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this point, we will move on to the public comment portion of our meeting this evening. I just kind of want to read a policy on public comments. Audience members may bring any item to the city council's attention. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. State law prohibits the council from acting on items that do not appear on the agenda. Public comments for this meeting will also be conducted electronically. Any person interested in addressing the council may submit a comment by emailing recorder@harriman.org or by visiting harriman.org/agendas and minutes, where there is a link to fill out an online public comment form. Your statement will be incorporated into the public record. With that being said, we'll open up that public comment. I do have one comment form here from Chris Martinson.
Thank you. It's Chris Martinson with Voice for the Voiceless. I'm a resident of Herriman. It's the first time I've come up with the new council and new mayor, and I wanted to thank you for another year and continuing on, and it's nice to meet most of you, and all of you hopefully soon. I just wanted to formally request that we put the proclamation on the agenda to talk about. I've mentioned that to several of you, and you've agreed to talk with me about it, and I appreciate that. So I just wanted to come up and formally request that. I've also emailed you all individually today with a video of us out at the Planned Parenthood Metro Center, so you can see a very common argument and something that we see almost daily out there, and it'll answer a lot of the, I guess, say questions, but it's really what we see, what is actually argued by our legislation here. And so I'm hoping to bring that to your attention so you'll understand where I'm coming from when I'm asking for this. I also, Councilmember Shields, I brought you a book that I promised I would give you to you. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say, and if you could respond to my email.
If you'll hand it to Chief Cuff.
Sure, will do. And if you would respond to my email and we can set up a work session or talk to you individually, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Any other public comment at this time? Jackie, anything online? Okay. That being said, we will close public comment portion and move on to item 6, City Council Board and Committee reports. Any reports from council tonight?
I was trying to think of all the boards that I've attended since the last meeting. Sorry. We just had our garbage board meeting a few days ago, and not too much to report. Things are, well, we're hammering through the budget processes and things like that, the same as we are here, starting to look at things. The recycle market has came back quite a bit. Towards the end of last year, we actually got a paycheck from recycling, which hasn't happened for a long time. We were paying almost, for a time period, we were paying about $69 a ton for recycling, and now we came to a point where we made a little bit, I think, like $10 a ton or something. So that was a really nice change. At the end of the year, we ended paying a little bit, but substantially less than even at the landfill, so that was great. But our numbers have fallen off a little bit as far as how many people are recycling. We're getting less tonnage. It's kind of slowly kind of going down. And so just a reminder that, yes, we still recycle. Yes, those blue bins get picked up every week. There's great comeback in the papers market, especially cardboard. So clean cardboard, no pizza boxes, but plastics. Steel, as you can imagine, steel has kind of gone through the roof in pricing. So those steel cans, when you open up a steel can, make sure you just give it a quick rinse out and throw it in the recycle bin so that we can take advantage of those markets and just be effective stewards of that. It helps slow down the filling up the landfill, and it allows those things to be reused. So it just would encourage people to use those blue bins for what their purpose is, and we are seeing a nice trend in the recycle market.
Great, thank you.
The only comment I would have is just, I sent an email about this to the council, just announcing the Council of Governments has appointed Mayor Palmer to serve on the Wasatch Front Regional Council Regional Growth Committee, where I had been serving for the last 2 years. They did request that I stay on as a non-voting member to continue to participate and give feedback, which I think is great because we can have 2 voices on there, but I won't be making those reports anymore. I'll leave those to Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anything?
Nothing.
Jared, anything from you on this?
Nope, nothing for me.
Okay, thank you. I'll take a quick minute and update everybody. As many of you might know, it is now, the legislative session is underway. Busy time of year for us, for our staff, especially Tammy, Nathan, and myself right now, among others. Spending a lot of time on the Hill lobbying for our city. Had a podcast tonight with Tammy that will go out shortly, that we kind of go over our priorities, the items we're touching on, kind of making that more accessible to the public, what the items we're working on. But I kind of wanted to bring up a few points that we're looking at. The first one we're looking at is what they're referring to on the Hill as SB 34+. We all know SB 34 that came out a couple of years ago, addressing affordable housing. This is a augmented bill they're looking at with possibly some more check boxes that we might have to check. But we're keeping an eye on that. That's now with Representative Waldrop now. It's kind of left Representative or Senator Andrick a little bit. Now Representative Waldrop's driving that a little bit. But they held a listening session this week. He's been open to stuff, but I still think we're going to have to keep an eye on that for sure. Other ones, a lot on water this year. Water seems to be the hot topic on the Hill this year, especially we know we're all looking at, even though things are getting better, water's still always an issue. A lot going on the Hill. I'm happy to say a lot of our requirements that we've put in place we already exceed a lot of the state code that they're looking at putting in. Finally, kind of the one I wanted to bring up tonight is one that we're really concerned about as a city, and that's House Bill 151. And it's looking to eliminate retail incentives that cities will not be able to offer retail incentives. We're not in line with the league on this one, unfortunately, so we're kind of having to go at it a little bit on our own. So we're looking tonight, I guess, for council's blessing that we can reach out to other rapid growth cities, out of the new cities, and kind of create coalitions and kind of some partnerships with them to battle this as well, to kind of fight for some changes in the language that might still be a benefit to the city. So staff and I are looking for, permission from the council to say, kind of take this on and try to attack 151 for our benefit. So if there are any concerns?
No, just for the public's consumption, though, because there are a lot of people who don't understand the incentives, and they feel like, why would we be paying companies to come here with tax money when they're going to be enriched by coming here? There are definitely a group of the population that disagree with incentives, and the problem is that as our city grew and was structured, it was structured based on those incentives because that was the only way you could get companies to come during the time. And so we've grown all the houses anticipating being able to incentivize companies to come. And so now if that's taken away and we can no longer incentivize the companies to come, we are just left with growing all the houses, which is really difficult to take care of the critical needs of our community, really to address those critical needs. So that's why we're pushing back on that, not necessarily because incentives are the great way to go to get businesses here, but because that's the way it was structured for so long that we're just in a position that it will negatively impact us a great deal based on those facts.
And I think us being a cul-de-sac community, like we've talked, we're in a very unique situation where we almost have to have those tools to bring them out here, to have them look at us rather than the major corridors. So it's something, I think it's a tool we need to look at.
The other comment I would make on is 34 plus, right? Is I would encourage all of our residents to reach out to Representative Waldrop and ask them, they made some requirements for housing affordability. Ask them, where's the study that shows any of the requirements they've pushed over the last few years have worked? I think that anytime that we're going to have legislation, it's important that we can back it up with data that shows that it's working, that this act got these results. But we're told that they can't do the study right now because it's too difficult, or they don't have enough time to get the study done. But then they again add on to that legislation and continue to make it bigger and bigger and more demanding. And so I think that it's time to maybe sometimes tap the brakes and understand if your legislation is really having the desired effect rather than just continuing to add on to that without really understanding if it had the desired effects. That would be my comment on that bill.
Perfect, absolutely.
Every bill.
Every bill. Okay. There's no further comment at this point. We will move on to item 7.1, a report or Jordan School District update. And we're happy to welcome Superintendent Godfrey here tonight, and we'll turn the time over to him.
Thank you very much for your time, Mayor Palmer, City Council members. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. I also understand the impact of a long weeknight meeting, so I will try to be as succinct as I can. But It's just it's a pleasure to be with you. I have a number of staff members here. Let me just introduce them. I have Mike Anderson, Associate Superintendent, Travis Hamblin, the Director of Student Services, and then we have Scott Feston, our demographer. We have Tracy Miller, our Board President, and we have Tammy Pifer, our Community Engagement Specialist. So we're here just to make sure that we are continuing to create strong bonds with our municipalities and our communities. Everything that we do is the result of powerful partnerships with our municipalities, our communities, our parents. We're the secondary support to families and to communities when it comes to education, and a strong connection is the only way that we can be effective in doing that. And it's a real honor for me to be a part of that. This is my third year as superintendent for Jordan School District, so I have it all figured out now after 3 years, and
Nice.
mostly having COVID as a part of that. I had 8 months without COVID when I first started, and I think I'm going to be the COVID superintendent no matter what happens, but it's a pleasure to be partners with you. You know, we have a couple of priorities. There are always many things that we're working on when we're serving the students, students from age, really from birth to age 22. And one of the things we've been focused on is early literacy. And even among all of the extra work that's been required because of COVID, our teachers have been trained and have worked really hard to implement a new system of literacy, and we're already seeing big gains. If we focus on early literacy and we can have everyone reading on grade level by 3rd grade, then that means they have access to every other type of learning for the rest of their lives because they're effective readers, builds their confidence as a student. So that's a real, that's a high priority for us. And we've seen some great gains over the last year. We're also focused on health and wellness of our employees, health and wellness of our families, and of our students. Coming up on February 11th, we have a Health and Wellness Day as a district that was just announced. Instead of our Flexible Friday, we've switched that so that we'll be providing resources directly to parents that they can use with their students, with their children, with their families to promote health and wellness within their family and within the community. At the same time during that day, we'll let every employee choose to either use that as a day to get caught up on work because the work has piled up with COVID laid on top of everything. We've all experienced that in our own individual lives. But we're also going to provide health and wellness resources, classes for their physical, emotional, and social well-being, just to give them a recharge. Because when we take good care of our employees, then we take even better care of our students and families. So we have that coming up, and there are lots of other things that we do. Mr. Hamlin is the director of the Student Services Department, a department that we created just a couple of years ago to address those exact issues. I'm sure it won't surprise you that when we think about Herriman, we think about growth. That's what you think about, and I'm sure talk about in your meetings time and time again. And that's an exciting thing for us. That's a positive thing. Managing the growth and making sure that we provide those essential schools that are a part of that growth and a part of providing a great community. What's exciting for me is that the last time we bonded, we made some promises about schools that we would build. We have built all of those schools. We've built them under budget, and all of them have opened on time and will continue to open on time. And we've been able to do that while still using district funds to build a bonus school above and beyond what those bonding funds paid for. So sometimes there's a confusion because we hear a lot of things in the news, but I just wanted to be sure you knew that we had been good stewards of those tax dollars. We take that very seriously. And we appreciate your partnership because when you're building schools, when you're a growing district, again, that only happens through partnerships, and we appreciate the ability to do that with you. Speaking of growth, I'm going to give a little bit of time to Mr. Feston to just talk about the growth. And as our demographer, he's keenly aware of that, drives around, and is in constant contact with your staff. So I'll give him a few minutes to speak to that.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Superintendent. You should have all received a map before the before the meeting started. As Dr. Godfrey said, my name is Scott Feston. I'm one of the district administrators in planning and enrollment. I'm the planning part of planning and enrollment. I've been with the district a couple of years when Student Services was created. They took a chance and brought in a non-educator to serve in that role. So I had spent a couple of decades at the Wasatch Front Regional Council. So great to have your representation on the Regional Growth Committee. As part of my job, I track growth. It's actually most of my job, district-wide. I get a building permit report every week. We track where those building permits are issued, and we track that religiously. Watch city council agendas, planning commission agendas, so I know when subdivisions are being approved, where they're being approved. I get them into our database, which is what's on your map. Here in Harriman, I work with Blake Thomas mostly. He's my primary point of contact, but I've also worked with Stephen Brown to get some GIS data, Michael Malloy to get other planning data, and building data from you. So on your map, you'll see a whole bunch of colors. With our school sites, our school properties that we own. So you can see our 6 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, 2 high schools, 1 elementary school that's on track to open in the fall. In the Hidden Oaks area, you can see that there. We also have 2 middle school sites and an elementary school site in the city boundaries as well. I really would like to focus on the other colors on the map. We track development types based on the predominant housing type in the development. So the light yellow you see there is single-family development. The brighter yellow is multifamily, townhouse type development. The light purple is predominantly apartments, and the light blue we call other. That can be really anything we just want to keep track of. We have some senior housing, we have the Salt Lake Community College campus on there, but just for our accounting purposes, we keep track of that. You can see the dots on there as well. Those are issued building permits. The light blue dots are building permits that have been issued in the last couple of years. So you can see where the growth has been recently. The purple dots are where they are currently under construction. I'd like to point out 3 areas of primary concern to us. The first is Mountain Ridge, the Edge Homes development near the high school, near Mountain Ridge High School. In the last year, there have been 359 units permitted in there. There's currently 142 of them that are under construction, townhouse and single family. That's an area we watch very, very closely. I was talking with the principal of Ridgeview Elementary School this afternoon, and understandably she's anxious about her enrollment projections that we just sent her. They're currently at about 1,000 students. We're projecting them over 1,100 by the fall, with over 200 kindergartners. That's an area that is probably we have the least data on incoming kindergarten. We know how many babies were born 5 years ago, which gives us an idea if the kindergarten class is going to be up or down. But in any individual school, it's always a work in progress. They did open with 175 kindergartners last year. So, yeah, a lot of kids. The second area we wanted to look at was the Teton-Jackson area across from, or just to the west of Herriman High School. In the last 2 years, there have been 162 units approved in there. There's 53 under construction, but many of those are in the senior housing portion of that development. But we do keep an eye on that. And the third area is in the Hidden Oaks area where our elementary school is currently under construction. There's, by my count, 67 units have been approved in that area. There are 16 currently under construction. Kind of the wild card in all of this is the Olympia Development. And the when it starts, the how fast it goes, and where it starts in their property will affect how we plan for our schools. We do have some property in that development, location and use still to be determined, but as those plans come online, we need to keep an eye on that and plan accordingly. So, are there any questions on what you're seeing on the map? Anything that's not jiving with your understanding of what's going on?
Like the superintendent said, I think we look at the same things you do.
You guys eat, sleep, and drink this too. So. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll turn the time back to Dr. Godfrey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. He's one of those guys that once you have him, you wonder how you ever did without him.
Right.
I'd also like to introduce Tammy Pifer. Tammy Pifer is our part-time community engagement specialist, and we've brought her on in the last year in Jordan District because of our desire to create strong bonds with municipalities, and she's going to talk about her role in helping us do that.
Great.
Thank you, Superintendent, and thank you for letting us be on the agenda. First, I wanted to thank Jackie, your city recorder, who's been terrific to work with. Appreciate her help so much in getting on the agenda. I have a little bit of a unique perspective coming to this position. I served for 8 years on the Logan City Council. So not only can I sympathize with you, I can empathize with you. I know what it's like to sit there as you're talking about the garbage board meeting and the recycling and the ups and downs of when you have to pay versus when you get money, power boards, sewer boards, water boards, you name it. There are so many things that you're involved with. And I'm not sure your current population, it was about 40,000 in 2019. What are you at? Are you closer to 50,000 this year?
Probably 65.
Yeah.
We assume 65.
The census had us at 55, but we certainly.
We were undercounted. Yeah.
So Logan was 55 when I started, and 8 years later, it was about 56. So one of the things I cannot empathize as much with is the growth and the tremendous growth that you're facing. But I do know the infrastructure needs and aging infrastructure that we dealt with that hopefully as your city grows, that you are well prepared to prevent that. But I just want you to know how much I appreciate what you do and totally get that your plates are full. And so thank you for letting us be here. When I took this position as community engagement specialist, my thoughts, first of all, went to our local city councils and our mayors and wanting to develop strong relationships with you, because I know that when people look for communities to move into, they look at the schools, and then they look at the city services, and then they want to find out what the roads are like, and what is your, what are your stores like, and what's the shopping like. And so I just think so much of that is intertwined. And especially, I think the relationship becomes really clear when property tax notices go out. And people call you about their property tax, and they're looking at the city services, but they're looking at the school district as well. And so I think that's why, again, it's so important for us to have the strong relationship with you, and I'm very, very excited about it. When we moved to South Jordan about 6 years ago from Logan, and I was working in the governor's office at the time in education, and education was a big deal for me as far as where we were going to live. I looked at school districts. We had to find somewhere that was halfway between Provo and the capital, but I was studying school districts very strongly, and I kept seeing what was happening in Jordan School District. They were first out of the gate with improving teacher salaries, and all the other districts started to take notice of that and followed suit. They were managing their tax dollars. And by the way, superintendent didn't know I was going to talk about this, but I just watched how they managed their tax dollars from budgeting, my budgeting perspective on the city council. I was very impressed with that. And so I just have to say, when this position came open, I was pleased and actually very proud to represent Jordan School District. I feel like we're in really good hands. And I want that to be I want you to feel that way. And part of my job now is I see being a liaison to problem solve, to help you become engaged in the schools. If there's any event or school program that you want to learn more about, if you want to see our literacy program in action, I want to make that happen for you. I want to get you into one of the classrooms and show you what's different about the approach, maybe from what it was like years ago. If there's a program that you want to volunteer for, I do want to mention an upcoming press conference from the governor's office. He will be launching a program, an Adopt a School program, and reaching out to businesses in the communities. And I've already talked with one community, and they said they have new businesses move in all the time. And they say, how do I get involved? We want to partner with schools. How do I do that? And as you interact with new businesses, there will be a formal way coming through the governor's office to get involved with schools. And I will help be a liaison to that work in the Jordan School District and finding out what schools' needs are, and maybe a business that might come to you and say, we really like middle school, or we want to be involved in the CTE, the Career Technical Education. I'll be the person that can help you manage that and make your business community feel like they really are a part of the overall community of Harriman. So that's my job, and I'm very excited to embark on that. This is our first city council meeting, so thank you for being gentle with us and allowing us here. And again, my thanks to Jackie Nostrom. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce your last name, Jackie. But he's fantastic to work with. We're happy to be here, happy to be your partners. Please let us know how we can help. I'll shoot you all an email just so that we can stay connected, and happy to help wherever I can.
Thank you.
I'll just thank you again for the time. My email address is superintendent@jordandistrict.org. I made it simple. So if there's ever anything I can help you with, I hope you'll reach out. Anything individually or as a city, like I said, we want those lines of communication open, and we're thrilled to be working with you.
And might I say, Superintendent, I had lunch today with Daryl Robinson, actually, good friend of mine, actually, and we discussed already prior to your presentation, at least a quarterly touch base between our council, whether it be myself or somebody on the council, between us and your, your leadership group. So absolutely welcome that. And I would love to get involved in any way, those literacy programs. I would love to see that. Daryl even challenged me to substitute, once a month on a Friday, to step in and kind of help our teachers right now, because honestly, my heart breaks for our teachers right now. I think they're very much underappreciated. They're, to all of you that have this has not been an easy time to be in education. Just know, I think I can echo all of us on the council that we recognize the efforts of all of you, and the teachers especially, and we're huge supporters of our teachers here, and whatever we can do to support all of you, we're willing to do that.
Thank you very much. We sure appreciate that. So we'll stay in touch.
Okay, sounds
Thanks
great.
for your support.
Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, all of you. We will move on to item 8.1, a public hearing and consideration of an amendment to the Herriman City fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. We'll turn the time over to Mr. Ray.
Thank you. We have three items on the budget amendment for review and possible approval tonight. First of all, last 2 weeks ago in the meeting, you agreed with a raise to the mayor's salary of $10,000. So the first item on here is a budget amendment to the general fund of $10,000 for the mayor's salary. Second item, it relates back to about a month ago when Blake and I talked to you about the Hidden Oaks project. And we approved most of that budget item, but he did not have the electric costs at that time. So we're coming to you right now to approve the electrical costs of $196,119.21. And this is a quote from Rocky Mountain Power for the power system up there as we put the road in. And then the third item, the Hamilton well repair and redevelopment. We kind of did this one backwards because we approved the budget, or the contract for this one back at the November 10th meeting, but we didn't approve a budget. So this would be approving a budget for the contract that we approved a few months ago. So those are the three items we have for public hearing and then for possible approval.
Thank you, Alan. This time we'll, public comment? We'll open up the public comment at this time, and the same rules apply to that as applied to our public hearing before. So if anybody has any comment on this, now's the time. Anything online, Jackie? Okay. That being said, I'd look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Sherry, second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any comments from council, or if not, I'll look for a motion as well.
Motion to approve resolution number R03-2022, authorizing an amendment to the 2021-2022 Harriman City fiscal budget.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Teddy. We'll do a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
And Jared?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. That motion carries unanimously.
The only comment I would make was it's too bad the school district left before they could see us approve the budget for that.
Right, no kidding. Perfect. Thank you, Alan. Okay, we'll move on to item 9, consent agenda. I will just look for a motion unless anybody needs to move anything off the consent agenda. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Teddy,
Second?
second by Sherry. I'll do a roll call vote. Teddy?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
I will vote yes as well. I did want to make one comment here, especially since Heather's here. I missed this last time on the consent agenda, I didn't realize. Sometimes these consent agendas, we just approve something that's been discussed just via email. But a couple things I want to recognize. First, I want to recognize Heather Garcia, who's here tonight, who's diligently served as an alternate on the Planning Commission. I think most people don't even realize she's an alternate on the Planning Commission. She's very active. She's extremely knowledgeable. I think it was a no-brainer for us when the name was brought forth by the planning 2 weeks ago. It was an easy decision. I just want to recognize Heather. I think I told you this last week, I think you're a rock star on there. We appreciate your input on there, all the time you put into that, as well as the entire Planning Commission, having been on there. It's a lot of work. It's an under-recognized committee in this city that I saw a few people go off on them this week on social media, and I wanted to lose my mind because I just don't think people understand what they go into for $200 a month. Like truly, it's $200 a month. So Heather, thank you for being willing to step into a full-time role. And I also want to recognize those, we were approved tonight some new residents to serve on these committees. And we have several committees in the city with a lot of volunteers willing to step in and serve. And I just want to recognize all of them that are willing to serve tonight on these committees, that they serve such a valuable piece of our community on these committees. So thank you to all of those that we approved tonight on this consent agenda. Thank you, Heather. With that, we'll move on to item 10, discussion and action item 10.1?
Yeah.
Yeah, 10.1, yep. Purchase of 2 parcels totaling approximately 18 acres in coordination with Camp Williams. Wendy.
Hi, Mayor and Council. This is a request from Camp Williams as well as a recommendation from staff to purchase 2 parcels of land that total approximately 18 acres. The camp's portion, which it's actually not the camp, it's the West Traverse Sentinel Landscape, which is in state code. They receive funding from the state legislature every year and have received almost $7.5 million over the past few years. So they're making great work. Our share of these properties would be $14,500. That's a $5,000 match as well as closing costs for these properties. The West Traverse Sentinel Landscape Committee share is $246,190. This is part of our Harriman Hills property. You can see it here on your vicinity map. I'm just here for any questions that you might have. I've talked to Alan about it. He says he can find the money in his change purse, so we should be good to go.
$1,000 we can get it.
Perfect.
So originally, we thought these purchases could be made straight by the state, but when we read the state code, we found that we do have a match that we do need to make. It doesn't indicate what that match is, what percentage it is. So that's what the West Traverse Landscape Committee had recommended was $5,000 and closing costs.
Nice.
That seems a reasonable investment to receive their $246,000 contribution. Yeah,
For 18 acres.
good deal.
Pardon?
We'll own the property.
Yes, correct.
Like that.
I think this is amazing. I think for the residents, if you can see on this, that it's the yellow properties. And
Yes.
these are properties that will never be developed. They'll
Right.
be city-owned. We're protecting that hillside as much as possible, giving us a buffer between
There you go, John, that's
us.
great.
And I think that's, so it's in the middle of what we already own, but just great investment, I think, for the city.
Yep, and we just keep approaching property owners to see when they're ready, if they're ready to sell, and if they're not ready to sell, we're patient, right? But these two property owners have identified that they are ready to sell their property for open space, so.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you, Wendy.
Okay.
Any other comments, or I'd look for a motion?
Make a motion to approve an allocation of $14,500 for the required match to finalize the purchase of 2 properties located in the Harriman Hills.
Motion by Sherry, second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. With that, that brings us to the close of our meeting tonight. Future meetings, Planning Commission meeting on February 3rd at 7 p.m. It says March 9th here. I think it's February 9th. City Council work meeting at 5:30, City Council at 7. A reminder, I will be virtual that night, so I've asked Sherry to conduct that night, step in.
Sherry? Okay. Also, we've scheduled a special city council meeting for strategic planning session on February 16th. I have been informed that there is a conflict that night, and I was wondering if the council would be able to readjust the schedule to do it on February 15th, which would be the previous night, Tuesday.
Would still be 5 to 9.
Correct.
I'm available that night. I'm available on the 15th.
Seems fine.
Okay.
Jared, how's that 15th work for you? Does that work okay now, that Tuesday night?
Yes, that's great. Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you, guys.
That was easy. So we will move that to February 15th. That will be a strategic session, work only by the council that evening. Couple of items, they're not on here. I want to talk about a couple of events too. One that's not a city, I hope it's okay I bring it up, but there is a Herman High in conjunction with the other Chinese immersion programs in the area are hosting a cultural event next Wednesday evening. You can find some information on the Herman High website, or it's been on Herman Happenings, a few other social media pages. But I think it's a great event celebrating the Chinese culture with some food, some celebration by quite a few schools in the area. So that's coming up next. That's next Wednesday night, the 2nd. What other?
Miss Harriman has her Sweetheart Dance on February 12th. It's a Saturday night here. I believe it's at 6:30. I'm looking now. Second. Daddy-Daughter Dance at 5 p.m. here at the City Hall. She is raising money for shoes or shoe donations. You do have to register through her or on the website. I'm sure they have a link on that page. But it's an amazing dance. Daddy-Daughter Dance could be uncle, cousin, niece, you know, any thing like that. So it's really fun to come out and enjoy. There's usually amazing refreshments and drinks and cookies and stuff, so.
Thank you. Love it. Love supporting our events in the area. Okay, with that, I will look for a motion to temporarily recess council to go into a closed session.
Would the council like to do the CDA meeting and the HCFSA meeting prior to doing closed?
Oh, yes, let's do that.
Okay.
So let's So we temporarily recess to go to,
Yeah, because we'll have to come back to the council meeting.
okay, so temporarily recess to go to CDA?
Yep.
Okay, look for motion.
Second.
Motion by Sherry, second by Steve. Roll call vote on this. So Jared?
Yes.
Eddie?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Okay, that vote carries. We will move on to our CDA agenda then. So do we stop the recording and then restart it again?
If you don't mind. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, give me just one
Okay.
second.
I just didn't want to keep going if I needed to wait a minute.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, we will open the Community Development and Renewal Agency meeting. First item is item 1.1. Look for a motion to approve the minutes from November 10th.
So moved.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Sherry. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 1.2, motion for review and outline of the finalization process to approve the minutes.
Of tonight.
Tonight? Be prepared and distributed.
You ready? Okay. Motion to have the minutes of January 26th, 2022 be prepared and distributed to each member of the Redevelopment Agency Board. The board will have 10 days to review the minutes and submit any changes to the secretary. If after 10 days there are no changes, the minutes will stand approved. If there are changes, the process will be followed until all changes are made and the board is in agreement.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Teddy. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 2.1, discussion and consideration of a resolution appointing an executive director. Jackie, it's just got your last name on there. No,
Oh, hey, it's me. So this resolution is recommending to appoint Mayor Lauren Palmer to the position of Executive Director for the Community Development Renewal Agency of Harriman City. It just needs to be a member of the board, so if you guys choose, it can be any member. Just staff's
vote Jared.
recommendation.
That's not funny.
look for a motion then, if you guys are okay with that.
Make a motion to approve resolution number R2022-01, appointing Lauren Palmer as Executive Director of the Community Development and Renewal Agency of Harriman City.
Second.
Motion by Sherry, second by Steve. Roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
Okay, that vote carries. That, and yes, I vote yes. Yes.
You're getting the deaths there.
Item 2.2, discussion and consideration of a working group to finalize a participation agreement for the auto mall development.
Thank you. So
Jace.
just a little bit of background on this item. In 2019, this board approved a project area plan and budget for this project area, the Herriman North, what are we calling it? Herriman North Community Project Area. So that encompasses the auto mall and the parcels adjacent to the auto mall on the southeast corner of 126th and Main Street. That same year, the board also approved an interlocal with the city where the city agreed to contribute 70% of the funds generated from the area toward development. And this goes to the incentives that was talked about recently in our city council meeting. Those incentives could be used to entice commercial development within that area or other types of development even within that area. So the purpose of this discussion tonight is really to see or encourage you, rather, staff, to authorize 2 members of this board to participate in a working group with staff as we work out the details of how that incentive money, that 70% of the sales tax incentive, could or should be contributed towards development within this project area. In the past, I've presented on a draft participation agreement, so we do have the foundation of one. It's merely now a question of who does it go to, how much, what should the term be, and we as staff would encourage or even welcome some involvement from the CDRA board in determining what those final terms and conditions should be of a participation agreement. The reason we're only recommending 2 is similar to these other working groups, is so that we don't convene a meeting, right? We can have 2 members of the board who represent the interests of the board. Obviously, that participation agreement would still come back for discussion and action by the full board. It wouldn't be a final one, but it would, again, provide some assistance to staff as we work towards some of those final terms of a participation agreement. One recommendation we're making is that, and this, unfortunately, I failed to include this in my staff report, is that we have a financial committee working group that was approved at our last meeting for the Auto Mall project itself. From a staff perspective, it seems like it might make sense to have those members of that financial committee or working group participate in this incentive working group, this participation agreement incentive group. But again, this is totally at your discretion about who you think would fit best. And those members, just for your information or reminder, are Mayor Palmer and Councilmember Shields of the Auto Mall Finance Working Group. Any questions about what staff's recommendation or requests are?
No, it's just the same. It's just a working group. It all comes back to the body to make the decisions. It's just to try and move things along.
Correct. Yep. And again, the idea is staff would just, I think, appreciate some additional board direction and buy off on the process and participation in that discussion and even negotiation with potential end users. That might be a part of this process as well.
Any thoughts on the 2 of us to serve on that? I'm happy to, if we want to do what Chase recommends. I'm happy to take that on with Councilman Shields.
I'm more willing to than happy to, but.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Any objection to that?
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, let's do a motion then.
I'll make a motion to appoint the mayor and Councilmember Shields from the Community Development and Renewal Agency of Herriman City Board to negotiate a participation agreement for the Auto Mall development. Mayor Palmer, I should have said so.
Motion by Sherry.
Second.
Second by Teddy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Look for a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have to adjourn to something? Do we have to adjourn to back to?
You can just adjourn that one.
Perfect.
You ready?
We gotta stop.
Now you gotta
Ready to go again? Okay.
open a new meeting.
Okay. Welcome to our 3rd meeting of the night, the Harriman City Fire Service Area meeting. We'll open it with item 1.1, Oath of Office for Board of Trustees.
Yeah. Do you guys want to come down here and do your oath of office for the newly created board? Come and join me. It'll be fun. I promise.
Are there refreshments?
She's always asking the wrong question. Do you want to versus do?
And then there's going to be oath of offices that you guys will also have to sign as well.
Okay, we'll move on 1.2, election for the chair and vice chair. Do you want to give us?
So this is up to you guys to decide who you want to So the city council appointed you guys as trustees for this board, and we just need to determine who wants to serve in those capacities.
I would vote to nominate Mayor Palmer as chair and Jared Henderson as vice chair. They seem the right people to be on that board.
You good with that, Jared?
Yep, he's good.
Okay.
No problem. Like I said, if you're not there, then you get volunteered.
We're just getting started with you tonight, hopefully. Okay. Motion by Steve,
Second?
second by Sherry. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 1.3, motion for review and outline of the finalization process to approve the minutes of January 26th.
Want to do this again? Or do you want to do this, Teddy? How will you do
I can
this?
read.
You go this time.
Make a motion to have the minutes of January 26, 2022 be prepared and distributed to each member of the Harriman City Fire Service Area Board. The board will have 10 days to review the minutes and submit any changes to the clerk. If after 10 days there are no changes, the minutes will stand as approved. If there are changes, the process will be followed until all changes are made and the board is in agreement.
I'll second.
Motion by Teddy, second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 2.1, discussion and consideration of a resolution appointing a chief executive officer, district manager, chief financial officer, budget officer, records officer, district clerk, district treasurer, and legal counsel. Jackie.
So all of these items on this agenda today are creation documents for the startup of the Fire Service Area Board. In the packet, it went through who we were going to appoint for each of those decisions. And do you mind if I just touch on each one and then
Yeah.
you guys
Yep.
can ask questions if you have any questions? The second one is just establishing Herriman City Hall as the place that we will conduct business for. Item 2.3 goes through for, we do have to bond for it. There is a little bit of a cost for that. It's in the amount of $10,000 for the faithful performance of the members. Item 2.4 is an interlocal agreement with the city, which we approved in the city on the consent agenda for publication, where we will be having to do a truth and taxation hearing for any other administrative costs associated with that, as well as legal fees that were outlined in the interlocal agreement. Item 2.5 is the policies and procedures. These are identical to how we've set up the Harriman City Safety Enforcement Area as well, so it would operate identically. And then also the last item, and thank you so much to Communications Manager John LaFollette. He had created an amazing seal for this board for us to use for any of those official documents for this board. If you have any questions on any of those items, I'm happy to answer them, or if you would like to see any changes, just let staff know.
I'm good. Okay, thank you, Jackie. Okay, we'll tick these off one at a time, Dan. We'll go down. Motion and a second on 2.1, if somebody could.
Okay, motion to approve resolution number R01-22, appointing a chief executive officer, district manager, chief financial officer, budget officer, district clerk, district treasurer, and legal counsel.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Sherry. Steve?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
And Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Item 2.2.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R02-22, establishing district offices.
Motion by Sherry,
I'll second.
second by Steve. Steve?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Item 2.3.
Motion to approve resolution number R0322, establishing the amount of a bond for the faithful performance of the members and duties in the amount of $10,000.
Motion by Teddy,
Second.
second by Sherry. Steve?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Item 2.4.
My turn. Motion to approve resolution R04-22, approving board meeting policies and procedures. That shouldn't have been that hard.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Sherry. Steve?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. 2.5.
Motion to approve resolution number R05-22, approving an interlocal cooperative agreement between Harriman City and the Harriman City Fire Service area.
Motion by Sherry,
Second.
second by Teddy. Steve?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. 2.6.
Motion to approve Resolution R0622, adopting a Harriman City Fire Service area seal.
Motion by Teddy,
Second.
second by Sherry. Steve?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Accept a motion to adjourn and go into closed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Teddy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
You need to
Do we have to do the
Now you have to go
formal-
back to
Oh, we're back
council
into
meeting.
Okay.
And then do a motion for closed.
Okay, so we welcome everybody back to a regular meeting. Now we will accept a motion to adjourn to a closed session.
Temporary
Temporarily recess this meeting to go to closed.
Yes.
Look for a motion.
We'll have to re-adjourn to, anyway. Motion to temporarily recess the city council meeting to convene in closed session for the purpose to discuss pending or reasonable imminent litigation and the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property as provided by Utah Code annotated section 52-4-205.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Teddy. Roll call? Do I have to do a roll call on this one?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Teddy?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. We are adjourned. We'll move it into closed.
You're gonna do that. Steve, Sherry, Teddy, Jared.
That's perfect.
I try to mix it up normally, but.
Yeah, no, you're good.